Tell me when, Amela. All right, so we'll start with the mouth. And in the mouth, there is the roof of the mouth. There's the hard palate, the soft palate, and the epiglottis, which is this flap in the back by the tongue. And you can imagine food coming down and pushing that over the trachea to close it off. There's also filiform papillae on the tongue, which is what makes the cat tongue raspy and scratchy when it licks you. Heading down from there, you can see the trachea, which is the airway, and it's rigid and so that it stays open so air can go through. And at the top, a swollen part called the larynx. That's where the voice box is. If you push that out of the way, the esophagus is right below it, and this is soft and fleshy because food can be squeezed through it. Air could not be squeezed through something like this. If we keep going, down here we have the lungs, and then right in the middle is the heart, and there's 4 chambers in there. We haven't cut that open so you can't see them, but it's there. Down below you see the diaphragm, and then this large structure is the liver. If we flip the liver open, underneath it, I'm sorry, not open, but underneath it, is the gallbladder, the small green sac. And then the stomach sits under there. Whoa, which has been cut open apparently. So that's the stomach. And in the stomach, you can see this little indentation. That's the pyloric sphincter, which then leads to the small intestine. So the small intestine is obviously this large coiled structure. To find the large intestine, I think it's helpful to start at the back. So down here, heading out of the body, is the large intestine, and this sort of heads up and over, and then back down. And you can see right here is where the large intestine and small intestine meet. And this little pouch here, this dead end, is called the cecum. And in humans, there'd be a little tiny pinky-sized squiggle thing, which would be the appendix. If we push this out of the way, you can see the kidneys here, and there's the renal vein that, and the renal artery is underneath that. You can't see that very well. But the renal artery brings blood to the kidney, the renal vein returns the blood, and then the kidney filters it to produce urine. The urine heads down this tube, which is called the ureter, and the ureter heads right down to the bladder, which is this structure here. And then the bladder has another tube that leads to the outside of the body right here, which is called the urethra. You can also see the reproductive structures here. I just pushed them out of the way. Where did they go? This is a female cat, and the uterus, the uterus is way down here. You can barely see it probably. And then this, you probably want to call this a fallopian tube, because in humans that's kind of what this looks like. But this is actually part of the uterus. They're called horns of the uterus, and there's 2 of them here. And they lead to the egg, which is this swollen structure at the end of it. Did I say egg? I meant ovary. That's the ovary, which is this swollen structure right there. Then there's the blood vessels. So to do the blood vessels, I'll just do the arteries here now. But if we start at the heart, and if I push this out of the way, you can see this sort of make out an arch coming out of the heart. That arch is the aorta, and the aorta comes all the way down the body, and it picks up down here, and you can see it here, and it continues all the way down. If I move the intestines out of the way, eventually you can see it branch. And where it branches, that's the iliac artery by the hips, and the iliac keeps going down, 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 and in the upper leg we call it the femoral artery. And then there's also the renal artery, which goes to the kidney that I mentioned before. If we go back to the aorta, and we can see that there's 2 other branches here. This branch is the left subclavian, and that's going to head to the arm, and it's not cut away, but trust me, it goes there. This one on the right, this is the brachiocephalic artery right here, and it branches into 3 separate arteries. And the left 2 are both carotid arteries. So this is a carotid artery, this is a carotid artery, and they go up to the neck. And then here's the other one going up to the neck. This third branch, difficult to see, but this third branch is going to go to the arm, and that's the subclavian. So the subclavian is going to come all the way down. It turns into the axillary, which is basically the shoulder region, and then the brachial, which is the upper arm region. And on a test, I won't ask you about axillary because it's too close to the middle. If I put it up here, it'd be subclavian. Way down here would be brachial.